Here are 10 great celebrities who went from being at the top of the world to rotting behind bars. Some of the stories are truly heart-touching and will leave you thinking deeply about what life really is. 1. Suge Knight. He was the boss behind Death Row Records. The man who made gangsta rap global. Ruthless, feared, respected. But in the end, Suge Knight couldn't outrun his own violence. Born Marion Hugh Suge Knight Jr. in 1965, Compton, California, the heart of gangland America. A very strong boy, but also smart. Suge went from the streets to the football field, even playing briefly in the NFL. But music was where the real power was. By the early 90s, Suge Knight co-founded Death Row Records. And suddenly the West Coast was running hip-hop. He wasn't just a CEO, he was a kingmaker. Under Suge, Dr. Dre dropped The Chronic. Snoop Dogg gave us Doggy Style. Tupac dropped All Eyes on Me. Multi-platinum hits. Billboard domination, Death Row wasn't just a label, it was a movement. And Suge was the muscle behind it. Suge ran Death Row like a mob boss, allegedly dangling Vanilla Ice off a hotel balcony. Rumors of beatdowns, intimidation, and ties to the Bloods gang followed him everywhere. But the turning point was in 1996 in Las Vegas, where Tupac Shakur, riding in Suge's BMW, is gunned down. Suge survives, but everything changes. After Tupac's death and Dr. Dre's departure, Death Row crumbled. Suge faced constant legal trouble, parole violations, assault charges. The music slowed. By the 2000s, Suge was in and out of courtrooms more than studios. Declared bankruptcy and lived with a lot of pain. In January 2015, Suge Knight shows up at a film set for the NWA biopic, Straight Outta Compton. An argument breaks out. Moments later, Suge slams his truck into two men. One dies, and it's caught on camera. In 2018, Suge pleads no contest to voluntary manslaughter and is sentenced to 28 years in prison. R. Kelly. He went from the king of R&B to the face of controversy that broke the hearts of his fans. Born Robert Sylvester Kelly in 1967 in Chicago, he grew up in a rough neighborhood, raised by a single mother. Struggling with dyslexia and O-dropping from high school, music became his escape. In the early 90s, his group Public Announcement put him on the map, but it was his solo debut, 12 Play, that made him a star. With hits like Bump and Grind and Your Body's Callin', R. Kelly became a sensation. Smooth voice, signature style, platinum plaques. He wrote for Whitney Houston. He produced Michael Jackson's You Are Not Alone. And then came I Believe I Can Fly, a cultural anthem, a Grammy magnet, a global hit. To the world, he was a genius. But behind the scenes, darkness was building up to cover all his years of beaming. In 1994, R. Kelly, then 27, secretly married Aaliyah. She was only 15. The marriage was annulled, but the questions never stopped. In 2002, a video surfaced, a sex tape, a minor. But Kelly pleaded not guilty, and in 2008, he walked free, acquitted. For years, he remained untouchable, still touring, still making hits, still denying everything. But the world changed. The Me Too era gave survivors a voice, and in 2019, Surviving R. Kelly aired on Lifetime. It was explosive. Survivor after survivor came forward. Stories of abuse, control, a twisted web of manipulation. The public turned. So did the law. Kelly was arrested, charged. In 2021, a New York court found him guilty on 9 counts of sex trafficking and racketeering. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Danny Masterson. He began his career as a child actor, appearing in commercials and minor TV roles. His big break came in 1998 with That 70s Show, where he portrayed the sarcastic and rebellious Stephen Hyde. The show ran for 8 seasons, making Masterson a household name. He later starred in Netflix's The Ranch alongside Ashton Kutcher, further cementing his place in Hollywood. In March 2017, the Los Angeles Police Department began investigating Masterson after 3 women accused him of sexual assault in the early 2000s. All 3 women were former members of the Church of Scientology, as was Masterson. They alleged that the church discouraged them from reporting the assaults to law enforcement. The Church of Scientology, founded by L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s, has been a subject of controversy for decades. Critics accuse the church of operating as a cult, engaging in harassment and silencing dissent. In Masterson's case, the victims claimed that church officials told them they weren't raped and discouraged them from going to the police. The church denies these allegations, stating that it has no policy preventing members from reporting crimes. Masterson was charged in 2020 with raping 3 women between 2001 and 2003. His first trial in 2022 ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. A retrial in 2023 resulted in convictions on 2 of the 3 counts. The jury found that Masterson had drugged and raped 2 women at his Hollywood Hills home. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. Following his conviction, Masterson was transferred to Corcoran State Prison, a maximum security facility in California. His wife, actress Bijou Phillips, filed for divorce, and he lost custody of their daughter. Masterson's legal team has filed an appeal, arguing that the trial was flawed and that exculpatory evidence was excluded. As of this moment, he is in the Corcoran State Prison for the next 30 years unless something changes. Harvey Weinstein, an Oscar-winning movie producer. Harvey was a big name in Hollywood. He co-founded Miramax Films in the late 1970s, bringing independent cinema to the forefront. Later, he established the Weinstein Company, producing critically acclaimed films like Pulp Fiction, Shakespeare in Love, and The King's Speech. His influence in Hollywood was unparalleled, with many aspiring actors and filmmakers seeking his approval. In October 2017, investigative reports by the New York Times and the New Yorker unveiled decades of sexual harassment and assault allegations against Weinstein. Over 80 women came forward, accusing him of misconduct ranging from inappropriate comments to rape. These revelations ignited the #MeToo movement, encouraging countless others to share their experiences of sexual abuse. In May 2018, Weinstein was arrested in New York, facing charges of rape and sexual assault. The trial commenced in early 2020, with testimonies from several women detailing harrowing experiences. In February 2020, he was convicted of third-degree rape and a criminal sexual act in the first degree, leading to a 23-year prison sentence. While serving his sentence in New York, Weinstein faced additional charges in Los Angeles. In December 2022, he was convicted of rape and sexual assault involving a woman in a Beverly Hills hotel in 2013. The court sentenced him to 16 years in prison, to be served consecutively with his New York sentence. In April 2024, New York's highest court overturned Weinstein's 2020 conviction, citing procedural errors, including the admission of testimonies from women not directly involved in the charges. This decision mandated a retrial, which began in April 2025. The retrial includes new allegations and testimonies, aiming to bring justice to the victims. Weinstein's case became a catalyst for the Me Too movement, shedding light on systemic issues of sexual misconduct in various industries. While his convictions marked significant victories for survivors, the overturning of his New York conviction underscores the challenges victims face in seeking justice. The ongoing retrial serves as a testament to the resilience of those who continue to fight against abuse and for accountability. Raw digs. Some rappers talk about the streets, others live them. But what happens when the lines between music and murder blur so much, a jury sees rap lyrics as confessions? Ronald Herron, better known as Raw Diggs, wasn't just an up-and-coming rapper from Brooklyn. He was also the leader of a violent drug crew, and is now serving 12 life sentences at America's most secure prison after a raw twist of events. Born and raised in the Gowanus housing projects of Brooklyn, Ronald Herron grew up in one of the city's toughest environments. From a young age, he was involved in gang activity and street crime, experiences that would heavily influence his music. He adopted the name Raw Diggs and began making waves in the underground rap scene. His gritty lyrics, raw videos, and collaborations with established artists like Uncle Morta helped build a cult following. To his fans, he was the next voice of the streets. To law enforcement, he was the embodiment of them. Behind the mic, Herron was allegedly leading a gang known as the Murderous Mad Dogs, a subset of the Bloods. Prosecutors said Herron controlled drug operations in Brooklyn and used violence to enforce his grip on the territory. He was linked to 3 murders, including one man killed in broad daylight in front of his mother. Another was shot execution style after being lured into a trap. In addition to murder, Herron was charged with attempted murder, racketeering, drug trafficking, and weapons possession. The crimes spanned a decade, a chilling resume of street domination. During his 2014 federal trial, prosecutors did something controversial. They introduced Rod Diggs' rap lyrics and music videos as evidence. In his tracks, Heron bragged about murders, beatings, and dodging federal agents. Lines like, "I beat a body and a feds case, too," weren't just metaphors. The court saw them as autobiographical. In one video, he brandishes guns and threatens snitches, all while under surveillance. Prosecutors argued his art was a roadmap to his crimes. His defense team pushed back, claiming rap is art, not a confession booth. But in the end, the jury didn't buy it. On June 26, 2014, Heron was convicted on 21 counts, including 3 murders, drug trafficking, and violent racketeering. The judge sentenced him to 12 life terms plus 105 years, effectively ensuring he'll never walk free again. He was shipped to a DX Florence, the infamous federal supermax prison in Colorado, the same place that houses El Chapo and Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. It's known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, where inmates spend 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. Redig's case reignited a fierce debate. Should rap lyrics be used as evidence in criminal trials? On one hand, prosecutors claimed the lyrics matched real events too closely to be fiction. On the other, civil rights advocates argued this sets a dangerous precedent, criminalizing black art and culture. In the years since, multiple cases have seen rap lyrics used against artists, from YNW Melly to Young Thug. Critics say it's racial profiling dressed up as legal strategy. Now locked up in the most secure prison in America, Rod Diggs will never perform again. But his case continues to echo in hip-hop, law, and culture, a stark reminder that words can build empires or bury them. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss part 2.